Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I feel like I say the same thing every week, but I'm going to say it again. I am so excited to share this conversation with you. Beth Llewellyn Wayne is with us today, and she is one of the fabulous queens that joined me in September of 2022 for our cookbook trip to the Charente-Maritime. And she's just a phenomenal woman who loves travel and is obsessed with long-term travel. And she's going to share some amazing stories of fabulous places she's been, the experiences that she's opened herself up to, and how she spent the weeks following the trip that we shared together. So without further ado, I'm just going to have her tell her great story. Sit back and enjoy. Beth, I am so excited to see your beautiful face, to have this gorgeous conversation. We have so much to catch up on. This is either going to be a 3-hour podcast or very heavily edited, but I am so excited to catch up and hear everything that's been happening since I left you in the Charente-Maritime last September.
Oh, Wendy Harrop of the Phineas Wright House, the fabulous Phineas Wright House. Gosh, I am so happy to be in the midst of your joy too. That is what I'm really looking forward to having the conversation about, is just the joyful things and the experiences that we've both had is amazing. Well, when you left me.
When I reluctantly left you.
I just chose not to leave. And that's kind of what I like to do. And I plan my trips for a longer period of time because I like to plan them for the first, let's say, 8 or 10 days. Not tightly planned, but, have a little bit of a plan of where I'm going to stay and a few things I'm going to do. And then I like to let it all be loosey-goosey. And it just flows. And that's how I work. And that's how I discover and explore. And I just, every time I do it, which I do it a lot, I just come back so rich and so poor because it's expensive. Right. And also, I make plenty of mistakes and I enjoy those mistakes. And that's where I learn. And I don't look at myself like, oh, Beth, you're such a dummy. And, why did you do that? Why did you da? Well, guess what? I put a big dent in the car. Oh, well, guess what? Oh, well, I might have put a big dent in my car at home, too. It's going to ruin my story. Right? It's not going to ruin my escapades.
Right. The dents in France are so much more fabulous than the dents in the U.S.
Oh, yeah. It was coming out of this parking lot that I had come out of 4 times probably before that. And I'd always nailed it. I was like, yes, you did it. Well, of course, that's the time that I was leaving and I didn't nail it. But hey,
oh my God,
4 out of 5 is good, right?
It's so good. And already I have so much to say about what you have shared. I mean, just this concept, and it is true. Freedom is a decision away. And you have decided that this is the way you like to travel. You've got something that's happening, for example, the cookbook trip, and then you buffered it at the beginning, and then you buffered it at the end to follow your bliss. And you're not neglectful that there's a financial piece to that, but you are also operating in this actual reality with a capital R, that money is a renewable resource. And when you are open and allowing these good things to come to you, more good things come to you. It's an amazing exchange rate because you are the vibrational match of what you are asking for and what you're experiencing and what you're showing up for and what you're available for. And it's all so good.
So good. And it is so, it's so immersive. And, I think that I have to consistently get out of the US to correct sometimes a mindset, not mine as much as I feel like we're expected to. And so that's not, that's just something that I've been like that since I was, oh my gosh, a junior in college. But so I feel like, or I know this, that we tend to put prizes on doing and resumes and LinkedIn. And I don't want to take trophies along with me. I want to take people. Mother Nature is a person too, so I'll take her on the ride. I love animals. I love to go wander and meet the cows. But the people you meet along the way are the real joys of it. And so I have this philosophy, if you will, that's a Bethism, because there are quite a few of them. And so one of the things is, oftentimes when you meet somebody, especially in the US, you get a comment of, so what do you do? Do you have children? Are you married? It's those kind of ticking the box things that doesn't get to anyone's soul. So I like to say, please don't tell me what you do in terms of job or things like that. I want to know what you love to do. And it's just, I just feel like it disarms people unbelievably. People are shocked, Wendy. People are shocked. They're like, oh. I asked a young man that one time, and he said he loves road trips.
Oh.
He loves putting together a playlist for his road trips. And I was like, okay, that's cool. We never would have had that conversation if we were talking about where you were working and whatever,
right?
Where you went to college. Who cares?
I love that. And I love how that question is such an invitation, and it has no age limit or age bracket to it. I feel like, having a young daughter, I listen to how people interact with her, and people ask, what grade are you in? What do you want to be when you grow up? Like there's no communication prowess. There's no conversational goodness happening. It's as if culturally we don't know how to speak to young children. So obviously it's not out of ill will. It's just been practiced and modeled for so long that those are the go-to questions. And it actually does not invite conversation, because they're not, what I'm teaching Amelia is when someone asks you a question, you answer it and then ask the same question back, and then they'll answer it. And then it's a little dance until you catch on to something that has the conversation take off on its own. And she can't ask those questions back to an adult. They're not in school and they're already a grown-up. So it's really fascinating. So I love this question of, what do you love to do? One question that she's been asking that I suggested was, what are 3 elements of your favorite day?
Oh, I love that. So Wendy, what are your 3 elements of your favorite day?
Okay, I'm going to say what just comes to mind. I am sitting in a very comfortable chair in a very beautiful space. I've just been served my first gorgeous cocktail, and the jazz trio is about to start playing. I love beginnings, and that stage just sets up a very yummy feeling in my heart.
I love that.
How about you?
I would say that one of my favorite days to accept and enjoy is when it's pouring rain and I can be out on a porch and I can be with a cup of tea and a great book.
Yes.
Nobody bugging me, no agenda.
Yes.
And I love the rain. I mean, my heritage is Irish and Welsh. So, we're not really Mediterranean sun people.
I love the rain too.
I love the rain. I find it so renewing.
Without getting wet.
Yes, I would prefer not to get wet, but I do love an outdoor shower. Outdoor shower is
I love that.
is one of my favorite things. And I took an outdoor shower one time. I stayed up outside of Asheville, and I stayed at an Airbnb, and it was completely natural. And you hiked to the composting toilet and things like that. And the way he had set up, you walked over to the main house and filled up a bucket of warm water, and then you pull the bucket. You're pulling it up and pulling it up, and then you end up tipping it and dumping it. That's how you take your shower. I was like, this is fun.
Oh my word.
Fun. And there I was, naked in the middle of the woods, pouring a bucket over me. It was perfection.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love the experience.
You can't make that up, right?
Nope. You find yourself in amazing experiences.
And plenty that are also equally as memorable and laughable.
Right?
Yep.
It's just a part of it.
Yep. I was on a ferry going to the Outer Hebrides, or from one of the Outer Hebrides in Scotland to another. And I met these gals who were a riot. They were staying at a hostel, and they were probably 70, 75 maybe, or something.
Oh my God.
They had just met each other.
Staying at a hostel.
Oh yeah.
That's not my story, but I love that about them.
And they didn't even know each other. They just met. So they were hitchhiking. And of course, I love to hitchhike. And so we ended up going over they were going for the day on this ferry and then coming back. And I said, well, I'm going and I have a car, come with me. I was like, you can just spend the day we can spend the day. So they were all excited, and it was going to be a fun day. And the ferry, the door was open, and one of the gals was getting in, and a delivery guy drove basically over that door and pretty much knocked the door mostly off the car. People were screaming. They were like, oh my gosh, you could have hit a person. This guy was just, hell bent on delivering whatever he had to deliver and getting off the ferry.
Oh my word.
So what happened? Well, on this island, there was only one store. And I was like, gals, we need duct tape. So they were holding the door on, right? So I was like, I know we're going to find some kind of tape or some kind of, we got to get to this one store. So we did. So what do we do? Duct tape. And then she had to get out on my side every time. We spent the whole day together. We had a blast. I was like, this is not going to ruin our day. Are you kidding? And then I carried on, and I was on that island for maybe a week more. And they said the only place to return the car and get a new one would be like 4 hours away. I was like, well, forget that. And so I stayed on for like a week, and I was then known on the island. Oh, she's the one with the blue tape.
That's so great. So where did you go after I left you?
So I went back to Ile de Ré because I just didn't have enough in that one day. And I spent maybe 3 or 4 days there, and it was glorious. I mean, there was no one there basically. And it was rainy and all those wonderful things. And so I rented a car, which, the lovely Susan and Roddy.
Yes. Shout out. Love them.
I love what they do. I'm obsessed with how well they do it.
Yes.
And they are some of the most amazing hosts I've ever been around, and you feel totally comfortable with them. So right. Susan and Roddy helped me get the car and everything. And then I just played. So I went Ile de Ré, and then I went down to Lourdes.
Ooh.
I'm Catholic, and I'd never been. And I kind of wanted to see all the pomp and circumstance. And there was pomp and circumstance like you would not believe. It was fabulous. 2 days was plenty. I was good. I was like, all right, got my holy water, and I'm good. And then I went down the coast towards San Sebastian in Spain. And no, that's not true. After that, I went down to Saint-Emilion in the wine country in France.
Yes, that's a UNESCO heritage site.
Saint-Emilion is fabulous.
Yay, we're going on the trip in August. We're doing a day like private wine tours and going to that.
You're going to love
village.
It is so great. And what was fun is that I got to stay there when all the tourists from the day left. And so it was just fabulous. And then I found a winery to stay at, and they had a little gîte, a little room next to the winery, and it was harvest season. The host comes out when I pulled in singing opera in French to welcome me. I was like, I love you. This is so fun. And his wife is the winemaker, and he runs, I think, the business, but I think it's been in his family for generations and generations. It's just a small place, but they had the vats of red wine that they were airing. So you could smell it in my room. It was fabulous. I was like, you can't make this up. And I oftentimes, like that day, I did not know where I was staying until maybe 6 o'clock at night. It's like, oh, well. The key though, for me is I like to travel off season. I can do shoulder season some, but off season is really easy because you're always going to find a hotel room or an Airbnb or something. You're going to be able to get a rental car or a train or whatever else you might need. So then I did that for a bit. And then I went down into San Sebastian, had a great time there, went on a couple great Airbnb experiences. And I would tell anyone to, wherever you're going, check out Airbnb experiences because they're doing a great job. And I have been on some of the most fabulous, wacky, wonderful Airbnb experiences around the world. So that's a thing to note, is to always check those out.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So then I went to this, we went to the cider house and where they tap the cider and you get your cup up there. I mean, it's just, and these men come every Wednesday or something like that, and they sing. They're there having their lunch with their friends, but they end up going back in the cellars and they end up singing for like an hour, just because that's what they do every Wednesday.
I love when the men come and sing.
Then I wandered and I went to La Rioja. So I went to that region, the wine region in Spain, and I stayed in a tiny little village that, oh my gosh, was just fabulous. And then did day trips. And I did have a car, so I did day trips and things. And some days I would just, some days I just stay home. It's a little Airbnb. It has a cute little courtyard in the back and love it. Let's see. Then after that, I went back to the Pyrenees because I just had to have a little bit more. And I found this gîte to stay in, Airbnb, that was to die for. And I love modern things, but I kind of like utilitarian buildings with a modern edge. So this gentleman who spoke no English, his son is an architect and he's a carpenter. So he and his son built it. And it's an old stone barn that's just tiny little stone barn. And they made it into this modern Airbnb. The views. But the best part was I would take my cup of coffee in the morning and sit on the front step, and the farmer came by every day taking his cows to the field. Ding, 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 the big cowbells and everything. And he yells at them, which is really funny. He's very spirited and he yells at them. And I was like, look at where I am, because I travel fairly slowly. I don't like to pack a lot of things in. I like to stay places for longer periods of time and just kind of experience it all, I did that. Then I went back and stayed with Susan and Roddy for a couple nights, and then had to come back to reality and plan my next trip. So there you go.
I love that. And I love that whole story and all of your adventures until you said, I came back to reality. What you experienced while you were gone, that was reality. And that was a reality that you created because you said yes to yourself and you allowed that much goodness into your life. And it was a beautiful decision that although you experienced it by yourself, the ripple effects of that experience has extended to the people that own the Airbnb and the farmer with his cows and the men at the cider house and me and all the people in your world that you've told this to and all the people that read Susan's newsletter of all the amazing places you've been and everyone that's listening to this. So our decisions, they're not selfish. They are self-serving and world-serving because only good came out of your good decisions. So thank you.
My pleasure. My reality has to do with paperwork and bills. It's okay. Just like, ooh, I don't like that. I'm way more of a want to person than a have to person. But I was raised very much. My mother was very much about do your want tos, do your have tos first to have the freedom for the want tos. And I have this lovely friend who uses the phrase, make space for the unexpected. And that's kind of how I live my life. I get myself organized in things so that spontaneity can just happen,
Right.
And so creativity can just happen. And it's worked for me.
Oh,
mostly.
I love that.
Mostly.
Yes. Now, how would you say that you're saying yes to yourself in this season?
Well, I just got back from another trip because I found a decent airfare, ended up finding a fare to Barcelona. And so I did that. And then one of my absolute best friends, I've known him for, 38 years or so. We have a group of college friends and we've been best friends for a gazillion years. One of his favorite places in the world is Barcelona. And so he said, you're going? I may just come meet you. I said, bring it on. So we ended up going, and he came, I was there for a couple of days, then he came for a few days. And then I was on my own after that. But of course I had to stay because I needed to see an FC Barcelona match. Yeah. So I had to stay an extra day, of course, because that was important.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's things like that. And then I wandered, I got a car and I went up to Andorra. I've never been to Andorra.
Nor have I.
And I didn't realize you actually leave the EU. So it's not in the EU. And so you have to go through passport control driving in. And the gentleman is really nice. And he said, make sure if you're going out on the French side that they stamp your passport, because when you go to leave Spain, you're going to look like you're still in Andorra. Like you won't have exited the country. It's like, good tip. And I stayed at this mountain chalet.
As one does.
And it was snowing and it was gorgeous. Then I come back down and I did Costa Brava.
Oh.
So I stayed in Cadaqués, which is that northeastern part of Spain. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It was rainy and windy and cold and fabulous. And there were maybe 5 or 6 cats that were on the porch the whole time. Just neighborhood cats. People would feed them. You know, it's just most things were closed. I didn't care. I kind of like it that way.
Oh, I love it. You're so brave. Now, do you speak French and Spanish?
Not really. No, I don't speak French. I can get by in Spain a little bit. But if you know enough phrases to be genuine and gentle, people will open up.
Right.
You know, and you can figure it out.
Right.
You can always figure it out. It shouldn't scare people.
We smile in every language.
We do. And just know enough phrases to be respectful.
Yes. And you're a badass for doing that. What would you say to encourage people to maybe take on some of that? Or how have you always been like this? Was there some moment of truth that made you decide to live your life in this beautiful way? I'm asking because I was recently listening to Glennon Doyle's podcast, We Can Do Hard Things. And she was interviewing Liz Gilbert and talking about why is it that a woman has to almost die before she lives the life she wants to have? And it just made me think of so many stories that I know where something tragic or pivotal happens, and then you're catapulted into realizing that you actually have a choice and actually have decision-making capabilities, and that there is more available for you. And I know, that I'm in that right now and I'm loving that. And so I was just wondering if there was something, or have you always just been a free spirit? And
those are good questions. I would say that a pivotal point, well, I moved a lot growing up.
Okay.
And then during my marriage, we moved a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty good at figuring out what community is going to look like anywhere I go. And again, on these travels and things, community could just be for 2 days, could be for an afternoon. It doesn't have to be for a long-term commitment. And so when I was a junior in college, I went to the University of Tennessee, and I loved it. And when I was in college, my junior year, I decided to go overseas to school. And I went for an entire year to Wales. And I went to Wales because my heritage, my former name, or my maiden name, is Llewellyn, with 4 L's. And so I decided Wales would be fun. I ended up getting there a day early and the dorm was not open because it was miscommunication. And so I found the cook and she opened a little room for me, and that's what happens, right? So I didn't go on a program. Nobody held my hand. My mother put me on a plane and I was gone. And so I did that my junior year, and I stayed for an entire year. And up until the day before my visa was up, 364 days, I think. That was empowering because the university I was at, Swansea, they'd never done an exchange program before. So we were the first year, and there were only a handful of us, all from different schools. And we lived in vastly different places. Like it was a few miles from somebody else. So it wasn't like you were all in a dorm or anything. We had no crossover or anything, but oh my gosh, we had the best time. And so therefore it's full immersion with Welsh people and things. A lot of the kids at school had never even seen an American before. So, I show up, blonde hair, backpack, tennis shoes, jeans, ringer, dead ringer. But that year was fantastic. And I think that started the lengthy travel, the immersion, and the empowerment that I can do it by myself. I don't think I was scared of doing it by myself.
I love that. And do you find that I don't want to say that it's fearlessness. I think that there's a sense of empowered certainty that is just emanates from you. But when you are meeting 75-year-olds on the ferry that are staying at a hostel and decide to spend the day with them, like, you're not the kind of person that goes straight to, they're going to murder me and someone's going to find me in a dumpster or never find me. Like,
humanity is good. Let us be. And so I think, yes, fear would be probably the number one thing that people wouldn't feel as comfortable maybe saying that. Most of it is other people's judgment. So when you tell people you're doing it, well, your mother or your sister or your spouse or your partner or whatever it might be. And so I think that if you can just quiet those voices or know, okay, I understand that's where you're coming from, but I'm going to try this. And, again, Wendy, it's like what I told my children about college, by the way, which is completely obnoxious, blown out of proportion in the US. But I said, this is a short-term contract. You're signing a contract for 6, maybe 1 semester or a year. You can change it. The same thing about travel. So I get over there and I, break a leg. Well, guess what? You slow down, you stop, and you fly home. It's all going to be fine. And there are always people there to help you if you need something. So I think fear is probably one of the big things. And I don't really have much fear.
I love that about you. And I think that there's fear. There is, I think there's a healthy caution, and that is healthy. And then there is fear, which can stem from, as you mentioned, other people's opinions, ideas, and words, uninvestigated beliefs. Where we've just, oh no, that's too hard. Like, really? Because you've never done it. So how do you actually know? And, all of these other reasons, because I've heard even the women that I had on the Paris trip, before the trip that you and I had together, one of the ladies, when we sat down we met for dinner before the trip actually started. And she said, I just have to tell you, my extended family thinks I have lost my mind, that I am spending a week in a foreign country with a woman I met on the internet.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
And I just thought, oh my word. I feel so close to her already because we've been communicating for weeks leading up to the trip. And I had several calls with her husband, who just wanted to, he wasn't really vetting me. I didn't get that sense. He's such a sweetheart. He takes such beautiful care of his wife that he just wanted to make sure that he was sending her to somebody who was up for the task of providing beautiful, sweet care for his wife.
Okay, now that she is cherished.
How darling is he? She is cherished, and I cherish her. And I was a little nervous. Like, I thought, am I getting called to the principal's office that this guy wants to have a call with me and make sure that I'm, but he just said, she likes this. And I like to do this for her. And can you help me, tell me who I need to call to make sure, like, he didn't have any unrealistic expectations of me. He just wanted to make sure that she was having the best experience she could possibly have. And I love that.
And that's what you do, Wendy, with your trips.
Thanks.
Is having them not very big, a small amount of people. The groups can ebb and flow with some of the interests and some of the timing and things. And it's beautiful because I feel like on our trip, each person was shining.
Yes.
Each person was shining with each other, with interactions, with Jeff, with you, with Susan, each other. I mean, all of it, Susan, all of it was just, each person had their own character that they brought. And I believe that each one of us went home a little different.
Agree. It was magic. And that was the largest group I've had, which was 5. And so that's the top Like,
Yeah.
I don't want the groups larger than 6 in total, because I feel like if any, we're traveling, and if anything is not going to go according to my plan, I can hold 6 people on my lap. Like, that just feels good. I'm like, there's plenty of space for you, but if necessary, I can embrace all of you at the same time.
Right. And we can make a shift together without too much trouble. That's the key, because traveling is all about making shifts. But in general, it's not my thing. So that was a big step for me to go with your group. And, it helped obviously that Rena and I chose to do it together, but it just, it was wonderful for me because I got to appreciate a group experience, but it was so unique. It was so unique and so beautiful in that chateau, and Jeff's food and cooking and his skill and all of it.
Yay. Thank you. When I started doing these trips, it was October of 2021. And Paris was actually begging you to come there because of the pandemic, and it was safe to travel for vaccinated people and all the things. And so I was able to curate these gorgeous experiences with people that I had just met, and fostering relationships and all of these beautiful things. And I was able to do it twice in 2022, and I'm going again in 2023. But things have changed significantly in the country where they still want you to come, but it'll cost you. Like, everything is going up in price. And, as the curator of the experience, it's a bit of a quandary, because do I want to sacrifice group size? Like, do I want to change that dynamic and have 10 people on the trip instead? And I think, no, I don't. I really like our intimate, immersive experience. It's interactive. We're able to do things with these beautiful collaborators, sometimes in their homes or in some beautiful tiny pocket that a group of 10 just couldn't do. We can get reservations at fabulous restaurants. We can always find a place for champagne.
It's like you're a family, not a group.
Exactly. And
it's the size of a family.
It's a different experience. So I'm not interested in raising the numbers. I'm also not interested in staying at a hotel I don't want to stay at. So I also know what kind of food I want to eat. I also know what kind of experiences I want to have. And all of those things just cost more money. And it's just how it is. But I'm really not available to change the way that things are going. They're just going to be priced differently. And the experience that you have is going to be reflected in that price. But I totally get that it's an investment and all of these things. So I appreciate your insight, because you've been on the other side of it. And I'm just really thrilled to hear that you had such a delightful experience.
I did. And what is the price of priceless?
Good question.
What is the price of priceless? What you offered to us was a priceless experience.
Thank you. That
was not cookie cutter. That was not group tour. That was so rich in spirit. And, and I think also as solo travelers, your trips are perfect for somebody's solo adventure.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Say more.
Because you get to know these other people and you have different dynamics, but it's not too groupy and not too, get on and off the bus and the da-da-da-da-da. And the other thing about your trips is everybody's not coupled up.
Right.
The world likes to couple people up. And, being single, I'm not coupled up. So it's nice to go on those trips where you're not, that's not kind of a, oh, well, who am I going to sit with tonight at dinner? Because everybody's with somebody. And Rena and I, we've been friends for a gazillion years, and we travel really well together. And so and we don't stick with each other.
Right.
So it's not like us coming together means that we're only going to talk to each other. We're mostly not going to talk to each other. We're going to have some inside jokes, of course, but mostly not talk to each other. And when we travel and I meet her in Paris or something like that, last time we did that before we were with you, it was, we stayed at 2 different hotels in 2 different arrondissements, and we would meet up like maybe every couple of days.
Oh, I love that.
Like, we may be in the same city together and we'll see each other, but it's not a, what are we doing today? What are we doing tomorrow?
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, my queen.
Of course.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.